Sword Art Online Re-Hollow Fragment is a PlayStation 4 re-release of a Vita game that was itself a considerably expanded version of a PSP title that never left Japan. It's an RPG that simulates an MMO, though it does also have its own multiplayer mode in which you can play using the same character used in single player. The game follows on from the first arc of the Sword Art Online anime. Instead of escaping the game after defeating Heathcliff on floor 75, Kirito and his friends find that they're still trapped inside the game, so their only option appears to be to press onto floor 100 and attempt to defeat the last boss. Joining Kirito are the supporting characters from the anime such as Silica, Lisbeth and Klein, as well as the major secondary characters Asuna and Yui, and a couple of original characters besides as well. Lifa and Sinon from the later arcs of the anime also put in an appearance through some slightly convoluted retrofitting that they soon fit in. The very concept of the game assumes that we're dealing with a slightly different alternate reality to the original anime and light novels anyway. There are three main components to the game: exploring Aincrad and attempting to defeat each floor's boss, hanging out in town and attempting to woo each of the game's romanceable ladies — yes, you can be a player and bed all of them, despite technically being married to Asuna — and exploring the sprawling hollow area. In Aincrad, the gameplay is pretty formulaic and linear. You fight your way through several different overworld areas, completing quests along the way before reaching the floor's dungeon. Then you fight your way through the dungeon until you reach the boss room. Then you fight the boss. The boss fights are particularly worthy of note in that they're probably the best example of how the game simulates the MMO experience. You're not only responsible for your own safety and that of your immediate party member, but also that of your assault team raid group that you take with you. Prior to taking on the boss, you need to gather intelligence about it and also help out your fellow players with level grinding in the field to ensure that no one dies a horrible death. Hopefully, anyway. Once you're into the boss fight itself, you'll need to deal with things like area of effect attacks, status ailments, and even things like tank swapping to fight effectively. The battles are long and interesting, and they're a real highlight of the game as a whole. I've had this game compared to things like Monster Hunter in the past, and while I don't think that's an entirely accurate comparison, it's certainly clear that the boss fights are very much a focal point. In between your jaunts out into the two parts of the game world, you can hang out in town. Here you can do all the usual town things like buying and selling things and upgrading your equipment courtesy of the lovely Lisbeth, but you can also build up your relationship with a number of different characters in the game by hanging out with them. Relationship grinding is primarily done through an initially baffling conversation minigame in which you first of all have to find chat triggers in various locations around the town, and then the game expects you to respond in one of two ways to various sentence fragments that your partner comes out with. After a while you'll just get a natural feel for how you should respond to your partner's statements. Objectively speaking, it doesn't really make very much sense, but you'll find you just naturally understand it after a while, which is sort of a nice touch when you're dealing with relationships. Relationship grinding has a few benefits. Improving your partner's immediate mood by making them happy in conversations allows you to do things like hold hands and even pick them up in a bridal carry. Make them happy enough and you can even take them to bed for a particularly intimate chat. That's not all you can do with partners though. Since you also fight alongside these people, your relationship value affects how well you work together. And you can also train their AI to act in different ways by praising the things you'd like to see them do more. After enough training, you even get special armor rewards for helping your companions specialise in one direction or another, so it's worth doing. The third part of the game concerns the Hollow area, an all-new unexplored area of the Sword Art Online world that was first added in the Vita version. In contrast to the rather linear exploration of Aincrad, the Hollow area is a vast network of interconnected zones in which you can explore, find rare items and fight challenging monsters. You'll also come across Hollow missions, timed objectives that earn you points to conquer each area. These generally involve defeating specific monsters or powerful bosses or finding specific items. Hollow missions are also used alongside the implementation system to work your way through a research tree and in turn enhance Kirito's character. These enhancements can then be carried across into Aincrad and even into multiplayer mode. Combat in the game is interesting, blending a bit of hack and slash with the cooldown management and dodging of traditional MMOs. You'll deal a bit of damage through auto-attacking, but the bulk of your damage will come through a combination of burst attacks and sword skills, with even more damage available by cooperating with your partner to unleash chain attacks. Central to the combat system is the risk mechanic, roughly akin to an aggro system in a traditional MMO, though with a twist or two. The higher your risk, the slower your burst gauge replenishes and the more damage you'll take, so you need to switch or tank swap in order to mitigate this effect. You can also reduce the amount of risk you're gathering by perfectly timing attacks and dodges. Initially you'll be taking on enemies much lower in level than yourself. Kirito starts at level 100. But as you progress and your skills improve, you'll be able to take on considerably stronger foes, including named monster area bosses and other rare enemies. A deep skill system allows you to progress and customise Kirito however you prefer, though given that he's already level 100, it won't surprise you to hear that he's already been taken quite a way down the dual-wielding path he's depicted following in the original anime. Hollow Fragment is an interesting, sprawling and surprisingly complex game then. It's much more than simple series fan service, though there's plenty of that too, and actually provides one of the most distinctive, dare I say unique, RPG experiences out there at the moment. Yes, its PSP roots are readily apparent, it's not exactly pushing the PS4 to its limits graphics-wise, but that really doesn't matter. It's an enjoyable, addictive and intriguing game that's well worth checking out, particularly if you like RPGs that are a little bit different from the norm.